My name is David Jordan. I'm the Group 2 reporter. I'm reporting on the results of the ranking cycle. First thing I'm going to do is present some of the experimental data in graphical form. And then I'm going to go through the cycle and present some of the acquired quantities that we calculated. So every graph I'm going to show you is it's going to have time on the x-axis, and it's going to have this little indicator right here. This indicator shows you the beginning point of our steady state analysis. And we defined our steady state by a constant pressure, a constant voltage, and a constant current. And it's within this region that where I calculated all my data. So this first chart just shows you fuel flow versus time, and you can see it's just a constant value until we end the experiment and drop to zero. Our boiler temperature versus time is just steadily increased throughout the experiment. This is our boiler pressure versus time, and you can see in the steady state region, this is that constant pressure that I told you about. It's around 819 kilopascals. This is our turbine inlet pressure in the blue and the outlet pressure in the orange. And what you notice is that the inlet pressure is greater than the outlet pressure. And we expect that because in order for the turbine to get work on the steam, it has to expand it. And that's what's going to cause the steam pressure to drop. The second chart is our turbine inlet and exit temperature. One of the assumptions we make in the Rankine cycle is that the turbine is adiabatic, and the temperatures are pretty much the same. It doesn't fluctuate that much, so that assumption is pretty valid. This is our constant current, voltage constant in this region, turbine RPMs in the steady state region. And these are the PV and TS diagrams for the Rankine cycle. And all the data that I obtained were at these points right here. So at point 1 is where it's a saturated liquid. Point 2 is also in the completely liquid phase. Point 3 and point 4 is a superheated vapor. And so these are some values that I obtained. So within that steady state region, I picked a certain time from about t equals 0 to about 1350 seconds from the start. Where I took these values, so I have a pressure value at these points in the cycle, temperature values, and using the steam tables, I was able to get these specific volumes, the enthalpy values, internal energy values, and these entropy values. So this right here is a representation of the cycle. So like I said, some assumptions that you make is that the turbine is adiabatic, and that the boiler and the condenser do no work. Our process did not have a pump, but I used the calculation anyway, just to illustrate this energy balance concept. So using that analysis for each point in the system, you can calculate either the work or the heat based on the enthalpy differences between the states. So between the boiler, you want the heat through the boiler, you use H3 minus H2. For turbine, for example, H3 minus H4, and you get these respective values. And we know from thermodynamics that this energy balance equation should be correct. So we have our heat in from the boiler, our heat rejected from the condenser, work from the turbine, and work from the pump if we have one. And it does equal 0, so that checks out. Another thing to note is that the heat that's going through the boiler, you can compare that to the energy that's provided from the fuel source. So we know the fuel flow rate, and we know the energy density of the fuel, and you get this value right here. And what you notice is that this value is much greater than the heat value through the boiler, and that could be attributed to a lot of different things. For example, we make the assumption that there's no work in the boiler, but from reality, we know that as the water goes through the boiler, it does experience friction in those walls, and that causes a pressure drop. So actually, there's a little bit of work being done in the boiler, and that can result in that difference in values. So for our mass flow rate, we know the total amount of water used because we measured the difference in the water levels in the boiler, and we know the total amount of time. So our mass flow rate is just the water mass over the total time. Turbine efficiency, to get that, you compare the actual work of the turbine to the reversible work. And reversible work is your actual plus your irreversible. And I'm taking T3 as the inlet temperature of the turbine, but we assume that they get back, and I want the temperature to stay the same. So you get a turbine efficiency of about 56.2%. Condenser efficiency, I'm taking the heat rate through the condenser, the mass flow rate here, and the enthalpy difference, giving a condenser efficiency of about 35.6%. And for the overall efficiency of a cycle, we have, you compare the work with a cycle and the heat added to the cycle. So you have your work from the turbine versus work from the pump divided by the heat added through the boiler, and you get an overall cycle efficiency of about 16%. And that's the experience.
I have a question for you. So like, how do you estimate the pump work since there is no pump being used in the experiment?
Yes, so in the diagram, the points corresponding to the pump were point 1 and point 2. So I knew that the pressure at point 1 was equal to the pressure at point 4 because it did not change through the condenser. So, and there was a saturated liquid, so I knew the pressure, so I got an enthalpy value right there. And point 2, I know the pressure at point 2 was, I assumed it to be the same as the pressure at point 3. And it wasn't a compressed liquid, so I assumed it again to be a saturated liquid. And I got the enthalpy value at that point. And that's how I got the work for the pump.